We are recording. So we will start off tonight with Ava. And Ava, you're sitting in your private chambers of your flagship. And the hollow player or the hollow table comes alive, and there's a individual standing there. He's a scientist, and he snaps to attention. Empress Forma. As he bows slightly, respectfully.
She'll give a nod to him.
I wasn't expecting a communication from you. Is there anything I could do to help you, Empress?
Yes, I was wondering how the project The Chosen One was doing.
Ah, well, we just received your shipment, the DNA sample, and I have to tell you, it has definitely opened up a lot of interesting doors for us, and it takes us in directions that we weren't even thinking about going before. Um, this new DNA is going to help us out a lot, and I deeply appreciate the shipment. As far as how is it going, well, prior to this shipment, it was much as I hate to say this, Empress, we were hitting a brick wall. However, the Crusade makes force sensitive clones. You were unable to figure this one out. We're hoping with this new DNA, it'll start to unlock those secrets.
Hopefully.
We
How's
should.
that?
Sorry, go ahead,
Go
Empress.
ahead. Go ahead. You should what?
So we should be able to have the initial test subject, or at least the initial round of serums for testing, probably in about another 2 to 3 months, depending on any hiccups. But we we definitely are in a good place now.
How's that? Our project's going.
Well, I mean, you'll have to be a little bit more specific unless you want me to rattle off all of your projects, and they're unfortunately I don't have that information. I do have a question for you.
What is it?
This DNA sample you got, can you verify uh, information for us about this? There are speculations, nothing concrete. This is General Graf's DNA, correct?
Correct.
That's what we thought. We'll be sure to take some extra precautions to make sure that nothing nothing linked to the madness is passed genetically.
Please do.
Is there a particular project you would like to have an update on?
Any faults with the cloning project for I think blanking on his name. Pacey.
Well, the subject appears to be taking everything around him in stride. The memories stamps have met, or uh the flash memory implants are holding. In fact, one of our uh, uh, one of our implanted memories of a best friend. We had the best friend visit and spent all afternoon talking, laughing, exchanging stories. Of course, for us, we knew the stories were false, but that subject had no idea, which is interesting development for the future of all of our projects, especially uh, the uh, especially our Spartan project, because if we can flash train our our uh, test subjects with the very best training that we can extract from a single source and just copy it to the rest of the clones, then we can shave training time down considerably.
Yes, I believe that was the plan in the beginning.
Well, you'll definitely be happy with the results that we're getting. We're moving to phase 3 of the testing for Commander Pacey or Colonel Pacey.
Good. How is Project Goliath?
It's a little bit outside of my scope, but I do believe that the Project Goliath team should be ready for their first trials. We plan on moving the final operations or the final trials to Baklit 7. It's not inhabited and it's far enough away not to attract attentions, especially if anything were to go wrong with its experimental power plant.
Good.
There are some questions about the magnetic accelerator. It's a little touchy, but I'll let the project manager give you more details on that. I just know on several occasions we had to evacuate the entire facility, which is the reason why we're moving the project to Baklet 7.
I see. How is Operation Stardust going?
The team over there is very ecstatic. They are moving to their first set of trials. It appears that the object it appears that the core of Stardust is stable,
Good.
and if everything goes well with phase 1 testing, then it'll definitely be moving along to phase 2. And phase 2, they want to start utilizing asteroids. They believe that there should be enough energy reserves within them.
What do you mean by asteroids? Like putting them in Stardust?
Using it for the testing phase.
Alright. Just be careful.
Of course. We have a sizable military perimeters established around Stardust, and the fact that the warring factions have moved far beyond this area, I highly doubt anybody will notice.
Out of here, what was that one thing that I told them to go test out? I can't remember.
We'll have to talk privately off of Mike.
We'll do that different day.
I will say this: Miss Pound has expressed great happiness with the special project that you have assigned to her. I don't know the details, but I do know that the last time we spoke, she had made an off colored comment and led me to believe that there's something more going on. But then again, it's Miss Pound. Of course, there's something more. You might want to reach out and talk to her.
Believe it as it.
Yes, ma'am. Have a good night, Empress. And he bows
You too.
respectfully. It goes dead.
Casual contact misbound.
Takes a little bit, but uh, she finally comes on, and you can tell that it's obviously nighttime where she is based off of her dress and her. Looks like she's just getting out of bed. Empress Forma, she says, bowing respectfully.
Misbound.
I have great news to report.
Go
Our,
on.
our mockingbird has made some remarkable discoveries.
Oh.
She's only been back on world a few days, and already she's definitely making plenty of headway.
She'll make sure it's secure.
I don't.
Well, go on. The line is secured.
It appears
Yep.
that our ghost operations are having all the effects we expected from the communities that are across Delphin and Europa to the camps. We are changing the way they perceive things. And as we expected, there's pushback from the old guard. But the younger ones who see prosperity and future, the ones we're targeting, they're taking the bait. And they're enlisting in record numbers. She's only made her first report, but chances are, if this is the tip of the iceberg, then it appears that our little mockingbird is going to have a glorious career.
I'm glad to hear that. We have somebody that's useful.
And I had a report back from Ryan. Their mission on Lannis was an overwhelming success, and they're moving on to their phase 2 project, which is Mandalore.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
The that does raise an interesting question, though. So apparently, Ryan and Mishka and their team was able to liberate almost 30 Jedi younglings and Padawan. Almost all suffer from extreme abuse of one form or the other, and they all are currently being treated for Stockholm syndrome. And here's the thing. Official reports show them all have been perished. The Jedi don't even know these individuals are alive.
Interesting. Well, let's move them to Buckland and have them, when they're ready, process them for the school.
I have a different idea.
I'm listening.
Do you remember the box of items you gave me from your home universe?
Yes.
So, I was reading the accounts of Lord Vader and his Inquisitorius. I sat down and was speaking with Shakti about this. The special tutor you hired for Sheev. Together, I believe the two of us have created a very interesting proposal for you. There'll never be an opportunity for us to fight the Jedi on equal terms. They have force, and despite our military and technological advantage over them, they'll always have the force. But Shakti and I believe that if we reshape these young, broken minds into something akin to your empire's in Inquisitorius, well, then we might be able to form a crack team that could rival even the Jedi. It'll take some planning, and I'd like to I'd like to create the project with the ranch, especially teaming up with memory, uh, their flash memory team. Wipe these individuals' sense of self, give them completely new identity. What do you
Oh,
think?
it's been going very well with the Flash identity. So I think this is a good idea.
I'll get with Shakti and we'll establish something at the ranch right away. Uh, they shouldn't be arriving for another few days, so by the time they do arrive, they're on their medical frigate. We'll direct them straight to the ranch and start their indoctrination.
Good.
Another thing that I would like to ask you if you're willing to support. So we have a few. We don't have hundreds. We'll always be on the short end of the stick for obvious reasons. However, if we can manage to get our hands on a few more dozen over the time, then we can bolster this team's numbers significantly. I'd like permission to open up a review panel to see what the probabilities and risk and rewards are for acquiring more of these Jedi Padawans and younglings. With the war raging between Coruscant and Olivon, and now this swarm getting involved, I don't think anyone's going to notice one, two, or a few dozen turning up missing here.
If you can do it without drawing attention, be smart, but also maybe finding force sensitives before they do and taking them into your care.
Well, true, that is an option. However, the Jedi vested a lot of time training these individuals. We don't want to. That training is a resource that
True.
if we have it, then we can match par for par between the two different sects. I'll
And else,
I'll start the.
then you should oop,
Sorry, I
go
apologize,
ahead.
Empress. I'll start the committee tomorrow morning. We'll start reviewing the possibilities of this and even try to see if we can identify possible candidates.
Start looking for ones that have left or abandoned their order.
I didn't
Also,
I didn't know such younglings existed or such Padawans existed.
it doesn't hurt to look.
True. Then yes, I'll look for those. Is there anything else, Empress?
No,
Well then, I bid you good night. Safe travels, Empress.
thank you.
And the comlink will go dead. And on that, we'll go ahead and transfer over to Duro.
Yellow.
Blue?
Green.
There we go. And that's all the Jedi lightsabers.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, purple.
Yeah,
Forgot purple.
that one doesn't count. Anyway.
So tell that to Samuel L. Jackson.
So you walk into the medical or into the science bay, and you see Handyman working over a cadaver. And what do you say? It's simply fascinating. Master Thaltanas, look at my extraordinary.
Duro will walk over and take a look.
Look here. You see the muscle bundles, he says, pulling pulling a muscle bundle off of the leg. It's been carefully dissected and cut and removed. Look how tightly packed the individual thread or tissue is. You don't see this in most species. Only those who come from uh, a gravity dense world has this kind of muscle density.
Is the bone structure equal, or does that match a high gravity environment?
It does. In fact, the bone structure is much denser than I even would have expected, which leads me to believe that wherever these people came from, they came from a very big world with a very dense gravitational field.
And dense muscles, I assume, would need a lot of blood to supply the necessary nutrients to them.
Indeed. But it's not even that. You would think that okay, the way the muscles are designed and the way the heart and the respiratory system is designed, that it would share the load, but that's not quite how they're designed. They're also designed to operate independent of each other. Like if I were to shoot the heart or stop the heart on one side, the other heart could take over.
So redundant systems.
Indeed.
Any idea of the species of this specimen?
Oh, on the surface, I would say human, but not anymore.
Cherry seemed under the impression that it was human. She assumed that I had two hearts, like this cadaver.
Cherry is an interesting young girl with wide ambitions and wide eyes, and doesn't know much of science or technology. I don't fault the young girl for this. It's a matter of her upbringing and her primitive background.
Yes, well, that is something I am hoping that this education will be able to assist with. If she wants to do something with her life, then I want to ensure that she has the tools she needs.
Look at the eyes. On the surface,
Duro leans for a closer look.
they look almost normal, but you see how the retina is much more defined, much more, and he like you can see his eyes kind of shifting through their different optics. Looking through their eyes must be like looking through multiple spectrum lens.
Very interesting.
Indeed.
Does this species match any known species in your database?
None. Though, the professor and I have come across something not quite the same, but shares some characteristic.
Could this be the Who that the Prelock spoke of?
Possibly. What the professor and I ran into was on the far side of the galaxy. Tangle Arm. We ran into a crusade night stalker, highly evolved clone designed to hunt down and destroy and kill Jedi. They are formidable bio machines. The eyes, redundant systems, even the muscle mass are similar, but you could see that they were artificially created that way. This, however, he says, holding his hands, this, however, is nature in its perfection.
And how long did you say it had been dead?
It's tough to say. In a desert, there's not much decomposure. However, based off the animal bites that have been chewing on this, I'd probably say a few months, it's under a year, but not long enough for the tissue itself to completely dry out. I will say that because I was able to extract some of the serpent's poison, which is how I was able to save Hadassah.
A fact I'm immensely grateful for. So if this so if this is indeed the Who, or at the very least their race, then there are members still alive, likely among the villages on this world.
I would like to propose a suggestion. Can we bring few in for further? I don't suppose you're going to let me perform an autopsy on about a half a dozen of them, chosen at random, of course.
If you are talking half a dozen living ones that we euthanize for that purpose, no, I'm afraid I cannot allow that.
Science must come before all things. This is a remarkable opportunity to learn about a previously unknown.
Yes, well, xenoanthropologists are able to do it all the time without slaughtering the population that they are studying.
Of course, no one says about slaughtering the entire population. I only need half a dozen to run my experiments.
Duro shakes his head. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I'm afraid you will have to stick with medical scans and biodata from the living.
As you wish. I have a counterproposal then.
Okay.
How do they bury their dead? Surely there must be six or so that have recently passed away.
I'm not sure. I haven't gotten to spend a lot of time in the village yet.
Understood.
But that is an inquiry that we can make. Ask for data for research purposes, but we will abide by their answer, even if it is to refuse us.
As you wish.
Now, I have been told there are other population centers at the edge of our scanning range.
Yes, there are several.
Once the storm lifts and I am able to meet with the professor and discuss our next steps, perhaps we can visit some of these other population centers. They may have data useful to us that this particular village does not.
I think that would be a very interesting. I would enjoy tagging along. At the very least, I will get the sensor readings that you require.
Duro raises an eyebrow and says, "Would you really enjoy coming along? Are you capable of feeling enjoyment?"
I have been told I have a cold bedside manner. I recently attempted to lighten my bedside manner with a joke about updating your donor registry card. I even added a laugh. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, you may want to find some other recordings of humanoid laughter.
I find that recordings seem insincere. It's important.
Well,
It's
droids are simply not built for laughter.
Well, I find that it's important that a medical droid, at least one who's trained as a medical droid, or I should say pro, has a solid positive bedside manner, and if anything says that my current resident in my medical ward is going to be any show of this effort, then I will strive to have a better bedside manner. If not for anything, then to lessen her suffering.
Well, I'm sure she will appreciate it. I'll have to stay posted on your efforts.
As you wish.
Now, about this storm, the spacesuit that you modified for Cheery to use, was that simply a hasty needs of the moment effort, or have you done all you can with it?
It was a hasty need for the moment. She insisted on coming along. 2 rolls of space tape and some vibro cutters made the suit fit her adequately for the storm. Though I have to question the sensibility of going into the storm the way y'all were dressed. That being said, still, I understand that went through a ordeal, but again, people swim in the ocean all the time. That they don't wear lead when they go swimming.
Precisely. And now that we are back on the ship, safe and sound, if I felt the need to go out into the storm again for research purposes, then I would have adequate protection.
As I said, Master Theltanus, it is nothing more than a sandstorm. All this mysticism that the professor vests so much in. I don't mean to belittle you. Sometimes a sandstorm is just a sandstorm.
And perhaps I'd like to experience one with a little more protection and a little less worried for my immediate well being.
Well, you're welcome to go check out the bridge. It has a beautiful view of the surrounding area.
Perhaps I will. But what I'm hearing is that a spacesuit is adequate protection against the completely normal, in no way mystic space storm or
Of course.
sandstorm.
Of course. Though I must urge caution. There are tremendous amounts of life forms in the storm itself.
Yes, I had sensed as much through the Force. That is what I wanted to investigate. Are they showing up on the ship's sensors?
They are. In fact, one showed up on the ship. One showed up on the ship physically.
Ah, well, tell me about that.
A serpent like creature with wings. It was interesting to watch it move around the durosteel of the transparent durosteel of the cockpit before it decided to fly away. I will give this world this much. is an interesting world, in many regards.
How detailed are the sensors on the composition of the other life forms?
What do you mean?
Can the sensors tell you anything about them? Composition, size, reptilian, mammalian, avian.
Well, let's. I've had this discussion before. This isn't a holodrama, Master Thaltanas. There isn't, how do I put this? Science fantasy. No, that's the wrong word. There isn't space technology magic. We can't sit in orbit and identify a specific life form and say, oh, that is a life form. This is what it's made of. It doesn't work that way, Master Thaltana. That is not how technology will ever be. What I can tell you is that there are many multi-celled organisms that are around the ship within the storm. More importantly, there are billions of single-celled organisms as well.
Curious. Well, when you have a moment, Hadaza had wanted to speak with you about her ongoing treatment.
Well, let's go and see Miss Hadaza.
Duro will nod, take one last long look at the specimen on the table, and then follow.
I could spend the professor's remaining lifetime studying this species and still not understand all of it. You know, you're right, Master Thaltana. Killing all of the test subjects would be a bad idea. You would have to keep at least a couple alive for live experiments. I mean, don't know how they mate, and definitely don't know their how their young go transition from, you know, single celled eggs and sperm to fully grown adults.
Well, we'll just have to see what the professor and the locals have to say.
Do you think that they would let us take a few with us for scientific purposes?
I rather doubt it.
Why?
These people are very tribal and seem to have a tight knit community. They almost function as one organism themselves rather than as individuals. The community is one organization with many parts. It's a concept I'm not unfamiliar with, as the people I stayed with, Tassara's people on our version of Lannis, were very similar.
Oh, disappointing. You think that they operate between the different tribes as one?
I'm not sure. On Lannis, the different tribes had slightly different beliefs, slight differences in culture. Sometimes they would fight, sometimes they would get along. Alliances would shift, friendships would form and break. I don't see why this world would be any different.
Well, what I can say is this: is that their children endure great suffering by the as they grow up.
Out of character, sorry, what was that again?
I can say this: their children endure great suffering while they grow up.
The cadaver told you that.
But yes, multiple broken bones. There's also deep lacerations muscle tissue that was still healing at the time of his death, which tells me that they do endure great physical hardship.
Well, on a world like that or like this, that is not surprising.
You know why he desert left to die?
I do not. Again, I was not able to spend much time in the village.
Hmm. Interesting question. I say this because they left him with a water skin, clothes on his back, and a simple bone knife.
And how old did you say he was?
Barely a mid-ager, 12, 13, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Duro looks thoughtful for a moment. Perhaps some kind of coming of age ritual. Some hunting rite, something like that.
Perhaps.
If so, he seems to have failed.
Indeed. And it appears that when you fail, he seems to care.
Which just lends support to my theory about the community being what matters even above the individual.
There is another interesting thing that I plan to dig deeper into, but I'm only speculating at this point. You see, the professor and I have been studying Force users for quite some time. No one has been able to identify what attracts midichlorians to Force users. However, we have been able to identify what tells midichlorians.
Oh,
Yes, a number of species have a natural area.
I'm aware. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but it is something I recall reading about.
Well, believe these creatures something similar to natural innate ejection of midichlorians.
I see. Well, you will have to keep me posted on that. Even the Jedi do not really understand midichlorians or their relationship to the Force. We know that one is attracted to the other, but why, as you yourself said, even the Jedi fail to understand.
True. But things like this are nothing more than, again, another mystery science to uncover and dissect. One day, even your own religion will be completely explained away by science.
If we are lucky.
It is not a matter of if, Master Thaltanus. Technology and science will always progress, no matter how hard the religious pushes back.
I have a feeling, just call it a hunch, based on my own lifetime of study, that the more questions we answer about things like the Force and life itself, for every question we manage to answer, two more will rise in its place.
The quest of science. Ah, here we are. Madam Hadaza. See, you're resting well. Would you
I
care
am.
would you care for me to summon the nurse for a bath?
Please.
And he turns to Duro. I have a nurse's outfit. ha, 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 ha,
And I'm sure certain
ha.
parties would love that, he would say, waggling an eyebrow at Hadaza.
Who has her hand over her eyes and is blushing up to her hairline.
Well,
Um,
I am told you have a question for me. In the meantime, I will be running basic scans.
I did, but and she looks down at her arms and legs in the little thin top and clothes that she's wearing. It seems I don't have that question any longer. Hmm. She notices that all of the tattoo work that she had been accustomed to is gone. She was and she looks at Duro and she's a little disconcerted. I That's how he's known her, is covered in ink, and she doesn't have any anymore.
Yes, but she is also as pink as a newborn naked mole rat, so I mean, there's more than just the ink being gone that is a little different.
Yeah, it's pretty disconcerting because I mean, normally, when you look at somebody's skin, it you see skin, but
Mhm.
as much as her layers have been removed, you can literally see, blood vessels that are normally obscured by the skin. You can see her skin's almost translucent.
The scar is gone too, isn't it, Mike?
Yes. Anything that Hadassah had that gave any type of impurity to her appearance is gone. This is fascinating.
What is?
Quick question, Hadassah. Do you mind being a test subject for a in-depth analysis into your genetic and physiological makeup? It will only require your death.
It missed the window. Handyman, terribly sorry.
Ah, 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 ah.
Are you having trouble breathing, Handyman?
No, I am practicing good bedside manners with a touch of humor. Do you,
Indeed.
do you remember what I was talking about the Night Stalker, Master Thaltana?
He nods.
Look at these test results. And he'll pass the datapad over to Master Thaltanas.
And Duro will take a look.
It
What?
is very similar to what he showed you in the other room. Not natural as he described before, but also it's exactly how he described it in a lot of ways. It's also definitely artificial.
Out of character, these are Hadaza's readings?
Yes.
What's he talking about?
Oh, this is very curious indeed.
Duro, what is he saying?
It seems you may not be as old as you thought or as you thought you were.
As you thought I was? What do you mean?
I'm now not sure what I saw through the force when meditating about who you once were, but Handyman was telling me about shadow stalkers built by the Crusade. I've mentioned them once or twice before.
Mhm.
Essentially, artificial constructs with a living shell made to stand up against and kill Jedi. to fight on par with them. Not wholly organic, but not wholly droid either.
Well,
The
hold on a second. What you're looking at with Hadassah, though, I want to make sure there's no misunderstandings here. Hadassah is completely organic.
Okay, then I am a little confused. So is
It's
she more like the cadaver or more like the shadow stalkers?
no. It's in the muscle tissue.
Oh, gotcha.
Right. It's in the muscle tissue. It's in the bones. It's all artificial. There's no question. Hadassah is a clone.
A clone or a strand cast?
Um, I don't I don't want to answer a strandcast because I'll be honest, I don't fully know what a strandcast is. So I don't want to back myself into a corner and say it's one thing when it's really not. It is a
Well,
clone.
it is very simple. A strand cast is a new being created by mixing and matching desirable traits from multiple genetic donors. A clone is just a carbon copy of another living organism.
Fair enough.
She's not.
We'll go with a strand. She is at the core a strand cast, but the way and methodology that she was created in such a way is uh definitely um artificial. Duro can see that from the test results. And there's give me a you have knowledge medicine.
Not as a knowledge class, no.
Can you give me an intelligence check, please? Treat injury will also substitute.
Well, neither one has a benefit over the other, so we'll just do intelligence. 15.
Apparently, based off the test results, she's been in the Bacta tank twice as long as you have.
All right. Well, since I was confused out of character, I will back up a little with the explanation he was
Yeah.
offering to Daza. So,
So
Handyman was. Oh, wait, go ahead.
what you're telling me is I'm a clone?
I mean, sure, we can just say Duro said aloud everything we were just talking about out of
Right,
character.
right, right, right.
So, what do you want to do? Do you want to just pick up where we've left off out of character, assuming he put it through in his own words in character, or do you want me to actually say everything?
It's fine. I we can pick it up out of the character.
Okay. So yeah, he's finished giving the explanation that Traveler just helped me with, and yeah, so you can react as Hadaza.
I'm sorry. I don't know what's more harder to swallow, that I'm 850 years old and damned if I don't owe the professor an apology, um, or that I'm some hybrid. And you can see her starting to like sink just a little. Jedi hunter?
I'm not sure that you are a full-blown shadow stalker. This is not. These readings do not indicate that you are what I have come across before, but the genetic makeup is similar. The idea, redundant systems, uh, dense muscle groups, dense bone structure, redundant systems, a faster healing ability. Those are all those are all traits that the shadow stalkers have, but yours are natural, artificially put there, but natural. Whereas the shadow stalkers are largely droid, also organic, but at the core they are droid.
Which means that I could be, and forgive me, a prototype of something that they are working on to be able to fool those who are in the know.
Well, that would be my assumption. When I was given the most information on the Shadow Stalkers, I was told that if you know what to look for, they are obviously not human. Or not alive. They don't breathe, they don't blink, their speech is perfect, robotic even, if you know what to listen for. You may be a prototype of something that is meant to go one step further, to be able to fool even those who are familiar with the Shadow Stalkers and know how to identify them. Something more alive, but no less dangerous.
She puts her head in one hand and wraps the other around her middle. I I don't even know how to process that. If I'm dangerous,
You're not. That's the other thing. While I think it is a good thing to get to the bottom of what you are, what the Crusade has done to you, if anything, I do still believe that you are who you choose to be. Whatever happened to you on that derelict wiped the slate clean, gave you a new start. You are
and
not bound by what came before.
unless there is some programming in there that no, I'm not even going to entertain the idea. I can't. I won't. It would make me irrational.
There is good news.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, she is not like the Shadow Stalker. Clearly, the snake almost killed her with its venom. So, the good news is you are mortal. Congratulations, you can die. Ah, 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 ah,
All
ah.
right, that's enough of that.
Okay, that actually was funny, handyman. And- okay, that explains why I need to rest. She's you can tell like there that her mind is moving faster than she's able to articulate, and that's strange and out of character for her because normally she doesn't have that problem. Y- Can you excuse us, please, handyman?
Of course, I will allow you to love birds some privacy. And he turns and starts walking away. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Ha, ha, ha. And the doors.
I think the hip would preclude that. Are the
Duro shakes his head and says, I wonder how long it's been since he's had his mind wiped.
oh, I'm sure we can find a way to make that an immediate situation if I could move a little faster. You asked me why I took off after the girls, why had to come back here through the storm.
Yeah,
There's another piece to that that may be relevant in this with this new information.
all right, let's hear it.
When I was with the seer, she had a strange table that she was laying out cards on, and it was engraved with runes. I ran my finger over the runes, just tracing the patterns, and I saw a young Padawan die under my blade. I know my past has nothing to do with who I am, but part of the reason I needed to come make sure the girls were all right was because I couldn't stand the idea of another child, of my being responsible somehow. So as much as we'd like to say that my past doesn't influence who I am and that I make my choices, some of those choices are still being informed by that.
Well, using this specific event as an example, it only has the power that you give it.
I
It only
suppose.
informs. Go ahead.
No, please.
It only informs your decision making if you let it. I know you've not been trained as a Jedi, trained to quiet your mind, to meditate, not to the level someone like Tassaro or myself have, but with time and training, it will come where if something triggers a memory like that, you can simply calm your mind, view the situation from outside yourself, and make the conscious, informed decision not to let the emotions that are brought forward by this memory to cloud your judgment, to rule your decision making. That is the sense of Jedi detachment that you had asked me to help you with, and that will serve you well in the long run.
Yes, yes, I believe it will. I mean, there were other reasons too, but I, it's gonna. She looks down at herself. It appears that now seems to be the right time for that training. I am not going to be as active as I am to which as I have become accustomed.
You'll give a wry smile and say, which is fine. It is a good time to pursue more mental training and stimulation. I'm sure the professor has other romance novels in his library.
are, are you asking me to learn things?
Oh no, not necessarily. Just thought if you wanted a little light bedside reading,
Oh, would you come and read to me then?
maybe I will.
She actually blushes at that, and she reaches out to touch him. Not sure exactly how that's gonna react with her skin, but she reaches out to put her hand on his chest. Thank you.
You know I'll always be here for you.
Thought we agreed not to make those promises.
That's not a promise, just a statement.
Fair enough. Can I ask you something strange?
Of course.
Did you dream while you were in the tank?
He sighs a little and says, well, there was a bit of an experience. I wouldn't call it a dream exactly, but my mind was active, yes.
What's the difference between an active mind and an inactive body and dreaming?
Well, I suppose there isn't one.
I've no experience with the Bacta tank other than what I've. She looks back at the accursed thing. I don't like it.
It is disconcerting, despite my active lifestyle and fighting in a war, I had actually managed to avoid the Bacta tank until now.
Did he say that I wouldn't have to be in it as long as he thought because of, I guess it's enhanced healing?
That is what it sounded like to me. It seems your body shows the effects of having been in the tank longer than you actually were, which means his estimates, his initial estimates, may be wrong.
So then I could be up and around. Not
Well, that remains to be seen. Let's take it one step at a time.
ha 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 ha. She
Well,
mimics.
you're trying to be handyman.
I wasn't the one who made the joke. And she puts her head back in her hands. I think you said something about food. Do you think he'd let me escape down to the galley? Some pancakes sound delicious.
He will raise an eyebrow at her and say, "Are you able to escape down to the galley? I believe your bones are still not as strong as they should be for that."
She looks around, points at the chair with the wheelchair.
Out of character, I think it's more of a hover round than a wheelchair.
Sure. She points at it. You like
I mean, let's
breakfast?
face it, it's Star Wars tech. It's a hover chair. It's not a wheelchair.
Yes, sir. You like breakfast?
That sounds wonderful, though it'll be either a really early breakfast or a really late dinner. The girls have just gone to bed.
Well, considering I haven't had anything to eat since I got back, I guess that makes breakfast.
Fair enough. Breakfast it is then.
Um, I think I'm going to need a blanket.
Ah, yes. That would be ideal.
Unless you really want to wheel me around like this.
I mean, if you don't mind, the girls are asleep. It's just you, me, and Handyman. And the cadaver in the science bay.
In the wait, in the what? In the where?
Oh, I thought I mentioned, Handyman took the girls out on a nature walk. They found the
Found
body of one of the natives who had died. He is in the science bay being studied.
you did mention that. Yeah, while you're pushing me along, you have stories to tell.
Agreed. And he will help her into the hover chair.
She'll get as comfortable as is possible, and it's a little chilly, I'm guessing, since it's freaking, is it metal?
I mean, Dura will find a medical gown or something in this room, and if he wants to go to her quarters and find something else to put on, he will take her there. But yeah,
She'll want.
for now they are working with limited resources.
The medical gown is fine, she hasn't had a shower yet. Get all of that goo off.
Fair enough. All right. So medical gown, hover chair, pancakes.
Sounds fantastic. Oh, no. I think it sounds fantastic.
All right. Well, that seems like a natural place to leave it. Give someone else a chance.
Yep.
Yep. Desara, you wake up and you roll over, you do your meditation, and by the time you come out of your farseeing, storm has passed.
Okay.
Ashra is still sleeping, as well as Jurin.
So she'll get up and go to the flap and lift it to see if the sun is shining or not.
Oh, of course, there's 3 suns in orbit. There's always a sun shining.
So she will glance back at them and try not to wake them, and she will slip out.
Okay. You go ahead and slip out. The villagers are already well underway of cleaning up. They are shoveling and moving and cleaning and pushing the sand off to the side so that the roads are clear or the walkways are clear.
She is standing there looking at the center where the body of the messenger is likely no longer present.
No, he's still there.
Oh, he's still there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just leaving him there.
Mm-hmm.
So she looks around. Is anybody watching her?
No.
So she's going to step closer to try and see him better.
Well, you'll have to cross a distance to get over to the platform, but yes, you can do this. And there are, just as you envisioned, there are still dozens of uh clay bowls, large shallow clay bowls filled with offerings. Some are wicker bowls that have been filled with offerings. Of course, they're all been destroyed by the storm, but you know, they're still there. You can kind of see what they were offering. Some have like little pieces of jewelry, which are just fine because again, it's just band. Others have like fruit and things that were cooked that have been ruined by the storm. You're there at the platform. You can look up at him. You also notice that there's writing runes on the platform itself.
Can she read what they say?
No.
She's just standing there looking at it. Are the hmm. Can I review what you told me in the far scene?
If you want to. Your choice.
So I just wanted to make sure, game wise, that you would be okay with me doing that. So she tries to look to see if there are still bowls there collecting any blood that might still be falling.
So there are no bowls there. Every bit of blood has already been drained out. The bowls have been taken away. You know that they would have been taken away by the elders for continued ceremonies.
Okay. She'll take a look at everything else and just take note of it. Is there anything else that she notices?
Everything pretty much lines up with what you saw. There is an interesting look on the face.
Is it rapturous?
No, the eyes are open and there's a slight smile.
Okay. Is it a smile of like a happy smile or a joyous smile or just a peaceful smile?
Slight smile, that's all I can say.
Okay. She will back up and take a walk around.
Give me a spot check.
Okay, hang on. Okay, I rolled an 18 and I don't remember what the pluses are for being here.
18's plenty. There are no pluses for being here for non-force related skills.
Okay.
I
thought they were all skills, my bad.
No, you're right. They are all skills. Excuse me, I apologize. But 18 is plenty enough. You back up and you lean down. Being from Lannis, you kind of know what you're looking for. You kind of know when you look at something, you know what it is. And you're looking at underneath the platform are different other instruments that are used. There's a large stone table that the center of it has been smoothed out so that it kind of funnels towards a center point where there's a hole. There's several other stone implements. All of them have cut marks into them. All of them have, dried blood stuck to them. They don't just sacrifice for storms. They don't just sacrifice their fellow kin. These people are steeped in blood sacrifices apparently on a regular basis.
This is going to be an awkward question, out of character, but because Tessara was taught how to sense, hear, see, smell, etc., the spirits on Lannis by her family and probably by the Yosani as well. If she was to try and employ the same attempt to try and do that here, would it succeed? And what would you need me to? Well, what would you need me to roll to see if it succeeds?
See, the Yasani on Lannis employ the Force. For them, this is the Force. And if you use a Force by the water, well, that's the water spirit. You use the Force in the forest, well, that's the spirit of the Force helping you. It's not anything different. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Okay, so if she was to sense for a spirit, she would sense the sand spirit.
So what I'm telling you is you would use the same ability that you would for the Force. So like C-Force, like sense. These are the roles you're looking for.
Okay, so I'm gonna roll C-Force.
Okay.
I rolled a 12 plus whatever bonuses I get for being here.
Okay.
Do you want me to roll sense as well?
No, you're fine. So you're looking around and you're employing this ability, and it takes you a few seconds because you have to stop and cover your eyes and close your mind because, again, this world is filled with the Force. This is a nexus. It's so bright it almost blinds you. But once you get past that, you're okay. You can see how it's interconnecting with you. You can see how this world touches you. Okay?
Yep.
And you look out at the villagers, and they're not.
But can she tell the difference between this being the sense that she's connecting to and connected through be the cosmic force or the life force?
Okay, so first of all, Tessara and Duro, well, barely Duro, but definitely Tessara, has no idea what the difference between the cosmic force and the living force is. As far as Tessara's ever been taught, there are the spirits, and then Duro taught her about the living force. Or, as he more commonly would have stated, the force.
Okay. So to her, there is no difference.
Right.
Okay. So has she opened her eyes at this point and is looking around?
Yes.
Okay. So what she sees is the force is within everything except these people?
Yep.
Well, that would astonish the fuck out of her. Okay, what about non-living things? Things like the wood, if it is wood that this thing is constructed on, the tools, the stone, all of that. Does she sense the force in that?
Yes. It is exactly the way you would perceive it as a Yusani, and the same as you would see it the way Duro taught you.
but not a single person that she sees walking around is also connected and or emanating the force.
Correct.
So she will back up another step and start turning around to look to see if anyone that she sees is different.
What do you mean?
Is it everyone that she's looking at, or is it only certain people?
You'll explain your question because
Okay.
I'm
So
missing
let's
it.
say there's a group of 20 people walking around. She's trying to see if all 20 people look the same, if none of them are connected to the force, or if some of them are and some of them are not.
No, it's all of them.
All right. She doesn't see Fei Lin or Jaren yet.
No.
Okay. So she is going to keep this connection and walk back slowly, paying very close attention to everything that she's sensing and seeing,
Mm-hmm.
and go back to the hut
Okay.
and lift the flap and look inside to see whether or not Astra and Jaren are connected to the force here, like, or do they look the same as these other people?
Nope, they're connected just like you are.
Okay, so she quickly shuts the flap again to not wake them up and steps back out, and she sort of lets it go. Like, whatever sense that she was using to see, she lets it go, and she closes her eyes for a minute and she listens. And that's a hard one to for me to explain, but sometimes in magic what you see is different than what you hear. So I guess what I'm trying to do is see if there's anything different in what she hears. So she'll try and connect again, just this time using her hearing instead of her eyesight. Do you want me to roll C Force again? Because that one says C Force, or do you want me to roll Sense?
That's gonna be a sense check.
Okay, and that's intelligence, right?
Correct.
All right. I rolled a 5, but do I get any pluses?
You can hear the whispers of your party. They're mental whispers. You can reach out and connect through this world and hear their whispers, the whispers of their mind.
When you say the party, you mean Astra and Jaren and Duro and Hadaza and the professor?
Jaren is not part of your party.
Okay, so I can only hear Duro and the professor and Astra and Hadaza. Yes?
Correct.
Okay. So she will drop that and step back again and start walking. She needs to find some water, and it's both for nourishment and curiosity. She knows she has water in the hut, but she also knows that the two of them are still asleep. So she's going to go see without having to poke her nose into Phelan's hut if Phelan is up and about or not. She's actually going for water, but she's keeping an eye out for Phelan.
You don't find her, and I'm going to offer my reasoning why you don't find her, because I have not been able to finish the scene with her and the professor.
That's fine. So she goes to get some water. Does anyone pay her any attention?
No. I mean, everyone in the village is just doing their thing.
Is anybody talking?
Of course, they're all talking. They're talking about the storm. There's a rise of excitement over who the next messenger will be.
That is exactly what I was trying to get at. Is there chatter about who the Storm Rider chose?
Yes.
But nobody seems to know.
No.
Okay. So she'll make her way back to the hut, and I don't know how much time has passed, probably like 15, 20 minutes.
Longer than that. You've been walking around.
Okay. So after she's done, she returns to the hut and goes inside. Is Astra awake?
If you kick her in the side, she'll be awake.
I'm gonna kick her. But she'll go over and she'll kneel down and she'll touch Astra on the shoulder and just shake her very, very gently.
Sasara?
Good morning.
Good morning. You sleep okay?
Not really. Can you come with me?
Sure. Astral get up to follow her?
She glances over at him. Is he awake?
No.
Good. So she lifts the flap and she exits, and she has sets it back in place when Astra is outside. I know it's bright.
Yeah, clearly the storm disappeared, ended.
I need to talk to you for a few minutes alone.
Okay.
So she'll start walking like away from the place where the sacrifice was done. She doesn't really want Astra to see it, so she'll just walk away from it.
Astral followed Sasara.
So when they found a place that's somewhat distant from that area, she'll turn around and make sure that nobody is like listening or paying attention to them. And as soon as she knows that they are not being watched or listened to, she says, okay, so I did a far seeing last night, and I don't have your skill as a seer, obviously, but I didn't try and look forward. I tried and look back. And what I saw, she looks unsettled when she says this. So this thing with the Storm Rider, the bug that got caught in your hair. So it's apparently a great honor to be chosen here, like he said. And the person who was chosen is prepared and given messages to be taken to the spirits, and their families are granted, great honor and wealth, and they are treated like royalty until the next storm. Then the next storm comes, they willingly offer themselves to be tied up and sacrificed to take these messages to the spirits. And this has happened for a very, 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 very long time. And these storms, like he said, come every couple of weeks. So I asked him, yeah, as you heard, how do the elders know? And it's because it's such a great honor that whoever is chosen immediately goes and tells. And I cannot tell you what to do, But I'm going to advise that we keep our mouths shut about the fact that this thing happened to you inside this, that it was found in your hair. The only person who could tell is Jaren, and I don't know if he will or not. And I also suggest that we try and find the professor and Duro and Hadaza as quickly as possible and let them know what has happened. And that may mean leaving this village. And she stops and she looks around again and she says, and I have one more thing that's very disturbing to me.
What's that?
So, if you use the Force to look at the people here, you can see how the Force is connected to everything, but it's not connected to these people, Astra. It is the most insane thing I've ever seen. It is as if they are somehow a void walking around disconnected from the Force. And yet they live on a planet where this force is so strong. I cannot fathom how that is possible.
I don't understand it either.
It's disturbing. They don't just sacrifice to the storm or during the storm. They do sacrifices at other times for other things as well. It is something that my village did not do. There were sacrifices, but different and nowhere near as often. I think it's wise if you and I find our way back to the Gungnir as soon as possible.
I have to agree with you on that.
I think I need to go try and find Duro and Hadaza, see if they're in Phelan's hut or not. I don't like interrupting, but everybody else in the village is still up. I can try and contact Duro to see if he's there. I tried yesterday, but the storm was too strong. I didn't seem to be able to connect. Did you leave anything inside the hut? I did. I'm asking if you did. Oh, hang on. I'm sorry, Traveler, out of character, I just glanced over and saw your message. She pulls out her comlink. Who is it?
When you activate it, it's Handyman.
Oh, okay. So she turns it on.
I am sure the professor would like you to be notified that Hadaza and Master Thalpanas are at the Gungnir. They are safe and sound.
Okay, safe and sound. That sounds ominous. I mean, it's good that they're safe and sound. She glances at Astra. It's Handyman. He's saying Duro and Hadaza are at the Gungnir, which is good. But while they're there and they're safe, I think we need to find out what happened. Handyman, what about the professor?
The professor contacted me and said that he would be delayed. He is busy.
But he's safe as well.
Of course.
Excellent. We will be making our way there as soon as possible, although I don't know how long it's going to take us to get there. I don't really want to ask any of these people for assistance.
Could send a speeder for you.
That would be wonderful, Handyman. Thank you.
Let me put something together.
We'll be waiting on the outskirts of the village.
I'll let you know when the speeder is en route.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And she clicks off and she looks at Astra. He's sending a speeder. I think we need to go back to the hut and gather our things. and make our way to the outside of the village as soon as possible.
I agree.
She takes Astra's hand very quickly. If for any reason we are stopped, Astra, you already know I'm a horrible liar. If they ask me anything directly, I am not going to be able to lie. I will just shut my mouth and not say anything at all.
Tasnara, how would they know to ask you anything? Or to stop you? And how would they know what your reply is? We can't speak their language, remember?
Except Nazil can, and they're all wondering. I can understand them. I can't speak their language, but I can understand them. And they're all wondering who was chosen.
Well.
Kisara, give me a listen.
Okay, hang on. $14 plus whatever my pluses are.
Okay, as you guys are walking around, you're having your conversation. You start to hear excitement in the distance. After a few seconds or moments, Astra, you catch wind of it too. You don't understand what's being said, of course, but Tara does, and sounds like somebody has identified themselves as being chosen as a messenger.
Okay, I want to clarify one thing. We weren't walking around.
Okay.
We came to a place where nobody was paying attention to us and couldn't overhear us, and we were stopped walking. We had just been standing in one place. But the minute that we start heading back to the hut, and yes, we will hear that.
Correct.
And Tasara kind of quickens her step.
Astra wonders what Tasara is anxious about, but has a good idea and just follows.
Okay, so they'll get back to the hut.
Yep.
And they step inside.
Mm-hmm.
Is Jiren still in there and asleep?
He is in there, but he's not asleep. He's cleaning up things.
Okay, so she will greet him good morning.
Well, hold on. By the time you get back to the hut, the whole village is in full excitement as they are, everybody knows that a messenger has been chosen.
Okay, but Tasara, and I cannot speak for Astra, but Tasara wouldn't be paying attention. She would just be making her way.
No, I understand. I just want you to understand when you walk into the hut, that is the state outside the hut.
Okay.
They are certainly excited.
Yes, they are very excited. She smiles at Astra. And she picks up her pack.
Astra will pick up her cloak and hairbrush, wherever the heck that is.
You're not going to tell her everything, Jared says to Tasara.
I did tell her everything.
Didn't tell her why they're excited.
She turns to Astra. A messenger has been chosen. That's what they are excited about.
Ah.
She turns to Jiren. We've been requested to return to the Gungnir.
Roll bluff.
Thank you for hosting us.
Roll bluff.
Okay, hang on. $18 plus whatever my bonuses are for being here.
Okay.
Thank you for your hospitality.
It is not mine. It's the hospitality of the village.
I meant yours for staying with us during the storm.
Yes, thank you.
So she finishes putting on her pack and steps towards the exit.
Astra.
Are you ready to go, Astra?
Astral, make sure she has everything and then nod. Yes, I'm ready to go.
And she heads for the flap.
Okay. You guys leave.
And they are heading towards the outskirts of a village.
Okay. You reach the outskirts of the village without incident. Because the villagers are all heading a different direction because they want to know who the next messenger is.
Okay.
You can
So
hear horns blowing, celebration, and just the whole village has assembled at the platform.
but how far away is the platform from where we are now?
I don't.
So if we go to the edge of the village,
Yeah,
is the platform at the center of the village?
it is. But remember, the village sits on a slope in a valley.
Right. So how maybe it'd be easier in minutes. Walking, how long did it take us to get from where the hut was, which is near the platform, to the outskirts of the village?
About 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's between 10 and 15 minutes. So we
Yeah.
will hear them cheering, but we won't actually hear what's actually being said.
Correct. You hear horns blowing, people cheering. Clearly, they're celebrating.
Tassara is looking ahead towards where she's hoping that the speeder will be coming, and she's pulling out her comm link. And Astra will notice that there is a grimace on her face.
Tassara, are you okay?
No, no, Astra, I'm not.
Care to talk about what's upsetting you?
She pulls open her comm link and she sends a message to Handyman that they are waiting outside the village, and tells him where, because if it's the village is in like a valley, he'll need to know where they are. So she sort of sends coordinates, I guess, if that's what we say it. And then she shuts off. She closes her comm link again and pockets it. She looks back at Astra. I just broke thousands of years of tradition from a people who were much like the ones I grew up in. And I cannot let them do to you what they have done for thousands of years, because you're my sister and my best friend. But Astra, I just destroyed a sacred tradition.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
There's music playing and everything.
Tassara, we're not a member of their tribe. We're not bound by their traditions. Well, it's important for us to respect their culture and their traditions. There has to be a line drawn in the sand where, okay, I respect your beliefs, but they are not mine. And well, maybe it's a great honor for your people, it's not for me.
I know, which is why I'm standing here with you right now.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Tassara just said.
She said, I know, that's why I'm here with you right now. And we are relying upon Phelan's son to keep our secret.
Yes.
So we need to get back to the Gungnir as soon as possible.
Agreed.
Out of character, did Handyman reply to say how long it would be?
No.
Okay, so she's gonna turn back to. She looks out like over the landscape, and then she looks back at Astra. I'm gonna try and contact Duro again.
Okay.
So she closes her eyes and she tries to force communicate with Duro.
You can. Duro is enjoying pancakes with Hadaza in the medical or in the
Cafeteria?
yeah, thank you. Mess. In the mess.
It's okay.
I feel like that is getting a little ahead of ourselves, but okay.
Duro,
Tasara,
I heard that you and Hadaza are on the Gungnir and safe. I'm glad to hear it.
yes, we are. Are you and Astra staying in the village, or are we returning to you?
No, I am coming to you with Astra. Something rather disturbing has happened, and we need to exit this village quickly.
Are we not going back?
Not right now. I will try and explain quickly because I know that Handyman has sent a speeder to collect us.
Well,
But
you can explain. You can explain when you get back. That's fine. I was just trying to clarify if we were spending any more time at this village, or perhaps visiting some of the others that are at the edge of our scanning range.
that I don't know, and I cannot decide that. Professor and you will have to make that decision, but I will tell you when I return with Astra.
All right, I will see you then,
But may the force be with you, Duro.
and with you, Sarah. And he will let the connection go.
And she does as well, and she turns to Astra. Okay, he's aware that we're coming. And he told me to tell him what has happened once we return to the Gungnir.
Okay. Yeah, we can let him know then. Avoiding talking about the subject might be a good thing, just in case someone's listening.
Agreed. I am keeping an eye out. Can I roll spot to see if I see anything or hear anyone? Mike?
Yes, you can roll spot to see if you see anybody, but to roll listen if you hear anybody.
All right, spot is a nat 20, 26 plus whatever I could get from being here.
Okay.
Let me do listen. Hold on. 23 plus whatever pluses I get here.
Okay. So you hear the music in the distance, and you definitely sounds like a celebration's going on. And looking through between the buildings, you don't see the platform, but you do see is a litter that has been used in the past. You know this because you've seen similar litters with similar fancy decora held over the heads of the villagers, and it's moving around, spinning around in a circle as they're holding it and dancing and celebrating. And sitting on top of that litter is the next messenger, a girl probably 12, 13 years old.
Oh, Astra, look. It chose someone else. There must be two. Or it must have chosen someone else when I let it go.
It's possible.
Oh my God, I'm so relieved. I'm so relieved right now.
It chose a child? Or does Astra not know around the age of the child?
You said she was 13?
Between 12 and 13, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yes, it's a child. And that's not the first time a child has been chosen or will be chosen again in the future.
And Astra just stares at Tessara wide-eyed.
It's Astra. I don't like it either. I really don't like it either. It makes me sick. But these people have a different world than we do. They, Astra, I was 12. Please forgive me if that's wrong, Duro. I was 12 years old when I was to be sacrificed myself. I survived because I ran away. This is what tribal people do. This tribe in particular. This is what they do. These are their spiritual beliefs. We cannot stop it. Just like I couldn't stop the man that was being killed last night during the storm. It's a ritual to stop it, to do anything different. It could mean our deaths. It would disrespect them to a level that they could not allow. Okay, sorry. Edit, out of character. Edit. She was 14. She was 14 when she was going to be sacrificed. Thank you, Wanderer.
You see the speeder come up.
Here comes.
And it spins to a stop. It comes up and stops in front of y'all. And you see Cheery at the controls. And she waves. Hi.
Oh, hi, Cheery.
Hello, Cheery. I'm very happy to see you. Come on, let's go.
Yes.
And you see her press the buttons to the thing, and you notice that all she's doing is she's working on the homing controls for the speeder. She flips a button and it takes off. Astra would know this function. She's used it many times before. Fairly simple.
Something familiar.
Tessara doesn't say a word the whole way back.
About 45 minutes later, the speeder comes up into the cargo hold of the Gungnir. And I don't know what Duro and Hadassah did in that hour and a half. You guys can fill me in later. But Duro, you can be waiting for her while Hadassah is getting her next round of treatment. Or Hadassah could be there with you. It's whatever you two want.
Well, at least Duro will be there.
Fudge will probably be back in the back of the tank. That was a lot for being out.
So they get off the speeder?
Yep, you guys disembark the speeder to see Duro, and Cheery waves to Duro as she helps put the speeder back where it belongs.
Tessara looks relieved, but dusty and dirty and exhausted.
You look like you could use a good sonic shower and a nice long nap.
Yes. I need to tell you first because it's important that you know.
Yes, I can sense that something is bothering you.
She looks over at Astra. Do you want me to tell him?
Well, you have to now. One of you does.
I know.
During the storm, we had gone out looking for Hadassah in the village, and a bug, a beetle, wasn't it? Got caught in my hair.
Yes.
The villagers call them storm riders, and they've got some unnerving traditions related to them.
Unnerving how? Does the person that catch it have to eat it or something?
Where's Tasara?
She puts a hand on Astra's shoulder. So Phelan's son explained what it was. This beetle is called a storm rider, as Astra said, and it is a harbinger of the person who is chosen to be the next sacrifice at the next storm. That person takes messages to the spirits. They are treated as royalty in the between time. Their families are given lots of gifts and accolades and money, and they wait and prepare this person as a messenger for the spirits until the next storm. And then that person, when the storm starts, is taken to the center of the village, tied to a post, and sacrificed so that they can take those messages to the spirits, as I said. And when this storm rider bug chose Astra, I knew that that was in danger of happening to her. So we got up this morning. I went into the village to try and see if anyone could tell whom the storm rider had chosen, which I couldn't. However, they began to celebrate that one had been chosen, and it wasn't Astra. So we left very quickly to come here. But Jaren, Phelan's son, knows that it was Astra that was chosen. When we got to the edge of the village, upon top of the ridge of the valley, we could tell someone else was being celebrated as having been chosen. So either that family lied, or the storm rider that I pulled from Astra's hair and set back out into the storm chose someone else. So that's not all. When I was in the village and I was looking at the center where this platform was, I connected to the force. And Duro, it was the strangest thing I have ever seen. These people aren't connected to the force. Everything around them is. I could sense the force in everything, but the people were not. I, I have even, I don't, I can't even explain what it was like. It was as if they were voids walking about.
Well, that tracks with what Handyman found in the corpse.
What? Corpse?
Uh,
Oh, yes, Handyman took the girls on a nature walk before the storm, while we were in the village, and he found the remains of one of their younger ones that had died of exposure. Based on my knowledge of tribal communities like this, because of our people, I figure, to me, it looked like some kind of coming of age ritual or hunting rite that this poor person didn't survive. But Handyman took the corpse back aboard the Gungnir and has been studying it, and he had pointed out to me that it seemed to have no connection to the Force, no midichlorians in its body.
That she looks over at Astra. Well, Jaren told us something similar. In fact, Nazil herself had that happen to her. She was left out in the wilderness on her own to survive. And
Mhm.
she did. But he said not everyone does.
So that tracks.
That poor kid.
I agree, but are you going to try to change all of their rituals and traditions?
She gives him a look. Don't be silly. Of course not. I am the last person to try and do that. Except I did. She pinches the bridge of her nose.
Well, we have to decide what we are going to do about Astra and this beetle, this storm rider. The way I see it, there's one big question that I don't think even Phelan's son answered for you. What is normally done with the storm rider? Is it released before anyone else sees it, and their word is accepted that they were chosen? Or is it caught and kept and presented as proof?
Well, he did say that it was unlucky to keep the bug inside. When I removed it from Astra's hair, it had been windblown. I put it on the wall, and he said it's bad luck to keep it inside, so I released it.
Yeah, he told us to release it.
I see. So it's not kept.
No.
Which is why it's possible it could have chosen someone else.
Desara, roll intelligence.
Okay, hang on. Eight plus whatever bonuses I get for being here.
Oh no, there are no bonus on attributes.
Oh, right, intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm stupid.
Okay, continue.
I don't think it's wise for us to return to the village, Duro. I know the professor is still there with Phelan, but whatever he does is his decision. And again, this is his ship.
Well, just because it's not wise for me to return, that doesn't mean that Duro, the professor, and you cannot return.
Well, that does lead me to my other observation. You said Phelan's son knows.
Yes, he does.
Well, then it sounds like he needs to suffer an unfortunate accident.
Don't be
Master,
ridiculous.
I am kidding, of course, but
Of
as
course
long
you
as
are.
he knows and as long as he is bought into this culture's practices, Astra is in danger as long as we stay here.
Well,
Tennis, says Churi.
Yes,
You promised to take me into the village to go see.
yes, I did, and I intend to keep that promise. The professor is still there, after all. He did not come back with you, correct?
no,
no.
he's still there.
Well, then I don't see why I can't take the girls on an excursion into the village, take a look around, retrieve the professor, and come back here. But you two should probably stay on the Gungnir while that is happening. We don't want to antagonize anyone.
And we also don't know how long it's going to be before another storm comes. And honestly, this girl that they chose, the girl that we saw, I don't
She
I
was a
don't feel
child.
right about it, but I feel like if she volunteered or if she was really chosen, we should not mess with that. So, yes, we'll stay here, but you're free to go there if you wish.
Right. Well, and Dura would be not standing at the ramp the whole time. He's obviously taking them inside the ship, shut the ramp, probably gone towards the galley.
Yeah,
Are either of you two hungry, or did you eat before you came back?
I'm starving, but I'm also covered in a huge amount of sand. Oh, and before I go wash all of this sand off, what exactly did Handyman mean by they're safe? You weren't in the village. What happened?
No, I was not. Astute observation. I just decided to go out for a walk outside the village. Needed to clear my head. There was a bit of a light breeze, but nothing too serious.
She raises an eyebrow at him.
I feel like he may not be telling the full story there.
All right, but I'm not the one still in a Bacta tank. Let's just make that clear.
What?
Who's in a Bacta tank and why?
Oh, Handyman. He got lost out in the storm. Got blasted all to bits. And how do you heal injuries like that? Well, you lie in a Bacta tank.
Okay, that was a terrible lie. Since the professor's not here and neither is Hadaza, I'm going to assume it's Hadaza. That makes sense, right, Sarah?
Yes, it does. What happened, Duro?
Well, again, a reasonable deduction. I'm so glad you two have taken my lessons to heart. No, Hadaza went out in the storm. She was trying to get back to the Gungnir before the storm hit so that...
You got cut off
All right, where did you lose me?
before the storm hit.
So that the girls would not have to suffer through it alone. But she was not fast enough and was caught out in it as it came upon her. I had happened to see her leaving the village while the professor and I were talking to Phelan. I didn't know it was her, but I did know it was one of our party because I could see that none of the other villagers were leaving the village. So I went after her to see where they were going and why, especially with such a storm brewing. And Nazil told me that it was Hadaza and that she was sick with death, whatever that means. So I borrowed as much protection as I could get my hands on, and I went after her. And good thing I did, because if I hadn't, she'd have died.
Wow.
Tessara is sort of staring at him, horror struck.
So yes, I spent about 12 hours in a Bacta tank. She spent the same amount of time, but Handyman says she will need several more sessions before she is fully healed.
Astral look at Desara and say, I don't know why you're so surprised. This sounds just like the kind of stunt Hadaza would pull. I'm glad she's alive.
Tessara puts hands over her face.
Now, normally I wouldn't go talking about other people's business for them, but there is no hiding it. She's been severely injured and will be spending a lot of time in the Bacta tank, so I just thought I would prepare you two ahead of time.
Thank you, Duro. I appreciate it. As long as she's safe and not dead. I tried. Oh my goodness. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go shower and get this grit off of me and then have something to eat and then go to sleep.
I don't blame you at all. Just remember, you were nearly as difficult in your own childhood.
She kind of looks a little sheepish. Maybe.
I remember a little girl who wanted to go hunt down a dragon so she could make a name for herself as the Yelsani of her village, the protector of her people.
I would have caught him too.
Seriously?
Yes, well, keep in mind that the river people passed their history on orally. So, as the Yelsani, Tessara knew all of the stories of her people, and she wanted to be just like the Yelsani of old. So, when it seemed like a large predator was lurking around the village and picking off the cattle, she wanted to go out with her bow and hunt it down herself.
Wanted being the appropriate term.
Yes, well, thankfully, cooler
Didn't
heads
quite-
prevailed.
I kind of wanted to make it my pet, okay?
Yes, well, remember the Venusian dragon when you are talking to Hadassah about going out in the storm.
Very well pointed out. And she did it out of worry for the girls, which is out of the goodness of her heart. And I would never chide her for that. I'm just glad she's safe. I will tell her this dragon story to make her feel better. Unless you already have?
No, I have not. I will leave that joy to you.
Excellent. She's a little bit red now.
You know what? Tasara, give it a few months, wait till Hadassah's healed, and then we can tease her about this mess.
I don't know. Even a little bit of teasing when she was apparently this badly hurt might be too much.
I said wait till she's healed, smart one.
Yes, well,
Exactly.
you
A few
two should
months
get
from now, this'll be funny.
you two should get cleaned up and get something to eat. I'm going to go check on the girls and get them ready for their day trip.
All right. Thank you, Duro. She turns
And you
back
would
and looks
mind.
at Astra. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I don't think anyone can just randomly walk onto the Gungnir, so.
She smiles at you. I'm glad. And she gives her a hug and then steps back and heads for the showers.
Astral return to Sara's hug and she'll look at Duro for a moment. You'll be careful while you're in the village with the girls.
Of course I'll be careful. I'm nothing if not careful. Careful is my middle name.
I'm serious, Master.
As am I. I will make sure no harm comes to them. Besides, Handyman will be there.
Astral nod and then give him a hug. I'll see you when you get back. And
Girl
then
will
she'll.
return the hug and tell her to stay safe.
Yeah, that's proving increasingly hard. It seems everything wants to kill me. Today it's bugs. Maybe tomorrow it'll be a bat.
Oh no, it's always been bugs, ever since we came out here. The bugs are just different sizes, that's all.
Oh.
Out of character on that note, I think it's a good place to leave it since it's 2 till 10.
Yeah, that's a good place to wrap up. Anybody have any questions before we call it a night?
Nope.
Nope.
No questions, but I'm so fucking relieved right now. Like, I know we're not out of the woods completely, but holy shit.
Well, I mean, they can't just come onto the Gungnir and take Astra, so I'm pretty sure she's safe.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
you'd think that right up until the time Melora shows up unannounced, trespassing on the Gungnir and tries to come after your butt.
that is a little different. I will also point out, though, that none of the Jedi will feel them coming if they do sneak onto the ship to take Astra.
Don't
True, but
feed
would
the
they take her
storytellers
by
shit like
force?
that.
True, but would they try to take her by force?
Not unless some little brat runs his mouth.
Well, he said he wouldn't tell anyone, so.
Was Cheery standing right there when all this was going on?
Yes.
Oh shit, does Cheery know the whole story?
Yes.
Duro might want to tell Cheery not to repeat that.
Yeah, I totally didn't realize she was still standing there.
I mean, she even talked in the scene.
Aren't you glad Hadassah was in the back the tank when you guys were discussing that? Otherwise, she might have mentioned it.
Holy crap, yeah.
I mean, maybe Dura won't say anything to her. Just, LOL.
I'm a
YOLO.
fan.
Honestly, it's 50-50. If you tell a child not to talk about something, it's 50-50 whether they will listen and not talk about it, or whether that will just make them want to talk about it more.
Hmm.
Another reason Amy does not have children.